Stanley. Thank you, Deputy Stanley. Deputy Coffey.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Minister, for addressing the meeting. The whole debate here, to me, it's boiling down to the nub of the issue, which is, do we set targets or do we not set targets? And that's the key problem, the key issue. And what I would feel, Minister, is we cannot set targets unless there is a proper alignment of policies right throughout our whole national framework or national setup. Like in the agricultural sector, which we are told is one of the main contributors to carbon emissions, and transport and industry, we have set ambitious targets under Harvest 2020 for food production, for exports, to assist with our economic recovery. And, you know, some commentators are saying, I think I read somewhere in a blog or somewhere just the other day, that at these hearings we only heard one group, which were the IFA, objecting to setting of targets. Well, I sat through hearings here last Friday and I heard a lot more people in industry, in business, and those sectors saying that by setting targets we could seriously undermine our national recovery. And, you know, we have policies around economic growth and employment strategy and increasing our exports. And I think we need to be very, very careful in our language here, because we can't have it every way. That's the way I see it. We are facing challenges. Ireland is a very small country. We must play our part in reducing our carbon emissions, but we must think through any consequences of this setting targets that people are looking for. And I'll just use two examples. If you look at the Kerry Group and Glanbia and the amount of stimulus to our economy that they will create, the food they will produce to export all over the world, like, that cannot be underestimated. And if we are going to set targets, we will put that very industry and productivity at risk. And it's something I'm not prepared to support. So, in the generation of electricity, there is progress being made, Minister. I know in my own area, in your own region, the South East region, Great Island, which was an oil generating station, is being converted by SSE, formerly Airtricity, into a gas generating station. That will be far more efficient, will far reduce the emissions for the amount of electricity they produce. And I think we need to speak more about this progress. And that's only one sector. There is huge progress being made in other sectors as well, and I think we need to bring the stakeholders along with us if we want to seriously reduce the carbon emissions. So, Minister, the question I have really, has any thought gone into a more holistic approach, and I presume there is, into how we align our national policies to reduce emissions and to bring the stakeholders with us? And just to finish up, Minister, I want to give you three practical examples of how, in the current scenario, we are not aligning policies, where various sectors are trying to reduce their carbon emissions, but they're meeting blocks along the way. And I'll give you one example. GlaxoSmithKline, a huge employer down in Dungarvan and Waterford, wanted to install a wind turbine on their plant to reduce their carbon emissions, to reduce their overheads, to become more competitive. That would help us in our task. Granted permission by the local authority with very little objection from the local community, refused by An Bord Pleanála. We also have a hydro scheme on the Glasha River down in Waterford that we're going to produce hydroelectricity to generate into Merksharpen Dome, again to reduce carbon emissions, again to assist in the reduction of carbon emissions. What's the problem? Connectivity to the grid. We have problems in those areas. So we can talk all the flowery language we want, the ideology we want about setting targets, but unless we practically align our policies here and make the reforms and changes that are needed, we're not going to reach those targets. You know, I come from a place in Portlawn, County Waterford, where 300 kilowatts of hydro energy were produced in the 1800s. There's not 1 kilowatt being produced in that river now. So maybe we need to look back at how our forebears operated, so that we can understand sustainable living, reducing carbon emissions, before we set any target. I'd be interested to hear your comments, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy.